Hello and welcome. Wow, God, why was that so aggressive? Welcome to the season 2 premiere of For the Love of Humankind. I am super excited to continue this journey and super excited for this very first episode of the season. This season has some incredible topics, in my opinion, and we start off with a banger this week. It is October, it is spooky season, and we are talking about a culture that has transgressed. I don't even know if transgress is the word, but has been a part of history for many, many centuries. And what better time to talk about witchcraft and the Wiccan culture than in October, right? So we all know what witchcraft has looked like, hopefully, throughout many, many, many centuries, right? So in the 1600s, the late 1600s, we have seen the Salem witch trials take place, where there were more than 200 people accused of practicing witchcraft, or as they like to call it, the devil's magic. That was weird. That was really weird. Okay. And 20 were executed during that time. And eventually, the colony had admitted that those trials were a mistake, compensated the families, and now they're synonymous with paranoia and injustice, which honestly we're still seeing today. Funny how history works out like that. But I think that we have had such a stereotypical view of those that practice witchcraft, right? From the Salem witch trials to the Sanderson sisters. There's these older, like, faces filled with warts, like eat children, have this big black cauldron that they throw all these ingredients in. And that's not necessarily the case. So let's hop into this week's episode, because I'm very excited to welcome my friend Cyan onto this week's episode to be able to talk more about her experience practicing Wiccan and paganism. So welcome back to a brand new season of For the Love of Humankind. So I want to thank you, first of all, for spending some time with me and talking about yourself and your journey to where you're at now. And so I know that you probably have such a busy schedule. I mean, you are 5 hours ahead of me, which was a challenge in itself to figure out when we were going to join and have some of this conversation. And your birthday's this weekend, which is also super exciting. So, let's start off and have you talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, where you're at.
Yeah. What, me? Now?
Yeah, you now.
Well, shit. Well, I'm Cyan.
You're a little nervous. You're a little nervous. Is this your first podcast?
It is.
What?
It is.
Well,
my podcast flopped.
oh, well, I'm glad that I could have you on this one. So this is your redemption story. So
Oh yeah. This is it. This is it for me.
this is it. This is the only episode you're ever going to be on. I'm just kidding. But no, like I said, I'm excited to have you on here, and I think it's going to be a very good, very interesting episode. I'm excited to hear more. But obviously, the viewers and the listeners want to know who you are as well. So now's your sales pitch, your elevator speech, if you will.
Oh God. Okay. Well, I'm Cyan. I'm turning 21 this weekend. I'm obviously from the UK. Don't sound Canadian. And we're here to talk about, like, my path of spiritualism, paganism, which is, I feel like it's a little bit controversial sometimes.
Okay.
You know, like, when people say, oh, like, witchcraft, like, sometimes when someone's like, oh, what are you into? Like, what do you, like, believe and stuff?
Yeah.
Is that your mic again?
Yeah, as I hear my fucking fire alarm being tested in my building, it's great. This is perfect timing for this. But you go ahead and continue.
As I was saying, I feel like when people ask, when people's like, oh, what's your belief and stuff, and normally it's like, oh, I'm Christian or Buddhist, or it's
Yeah.
normally one of those. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But like when I say, oh, I'm pagan, or I believe in like paganism and I'm quite spiritual, they go like, oh, what's that? And it's like, it's so hard to explain, because the thing is, everybody's craft is different. Like, and the way I, like, it's so intricate, because like you can be pagan and not practice Wicca.
Okay.
But you can be pagan, but you can be Wiccan, but not be pagan. It's all like absolutely, like, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
Okay. So I want to get into some of that those differences here, because obviously when I sent you the questions, right, like I've done my I don't want to say bare minimum research. Like I have, did some reading before this, and in order to prepare for the conversation, but
of course
there wasn't anything. And I'm actually gonna take a step back here, because you didn't even say your name or introduce yourself. So well, you said that you were turning 21. You didn't say, did you say your name?
I said my name's Cyan.
Oh, maybe I just didn't hear that over the alarm going off. But you mentioned, this difference between pagan and Wiccan, right? So what does that look like? Like, because you said you can be pagan, but not necessarily, do the craft of Wiccan, but oftentimes, you can do the craft of Wiccan and you're pagan. So what does that mean? What does that look like?
Oh, to put it into perspective, so Wiccan is like the craft. It's witchcraft. It's
Okay.
It's I don't know how to put it. It's like when you make like videos and stuff, and they got like herbs and shit, and they put it in little bowls and
Yeah.
doing like a manifestation and popping in there, sealing it with wax and stuff. And Wiccanism is pretty much that. It's the craft.
Okay.
Paganism is just the belief.
Okay.
Right? So you could be pagan but not practice the craft.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you could practice the craft without being pagan.
Okay.
Without the belief.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
So I guess with that, like, a lot of, I think what you see now, right, is people talking about, like, especially I think on TikTok, right? Like you do, at least in my For You page, like I see a lot of like tarot card readings. I see a lot of like talk about crystals. Like, do those fall into that, like that craft, or is that a completely different realm? Does that make sense?
I feel like the thing is with being like pagan is that like your craft is always like to you, like to what suits you. So for example, for me, I do tarot readings. I do work with crystals.
Okay.
But to put it into perspective with Wiccan, I would say so, because that's you're using like the vibrations of the earth to manifest something, or I talk to spirits and stuff, which is not fucking normal.
And we're gonna come back to that part.
Yeah, we'll go back to Jesus. Later date. But yeah, I would say it does fall under the same category.
Okay. So, like, originally, right? So, for people that may not know about, the phrasing of Wiccan, right? Like, because I think that that is kind of like an in crowd phrasing, right? Like, I think a lot of people will consider it to be like, quote unquote, like witchcraft, right? But
Oh,
from what I've read is like the term like witchcraft actually has like a pretty negative connotation to it, just from like
yeah.
history's sake. So do you use those words like interchangeably, or do you typically find yourself just using like Wiccan as the phrasing for the craft?
See, the thing is, I remember one of your questions was about stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I used to like because I used to be so worried about like what people thought about me and my craft and stuff.
Mm.
Um, because of the whole stereotyping thing, and I didn't want that sort of name for myself. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want that to look bad. And then I kind of like, the more I got into it, and the more I learned, and I'm still learning. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like the more I learn, the more I'm realizing that like I don't really care. So now I'm using like the terms like witchcraft and stuff like that. But however, I used to use different terms
Okay.
when I was more worried about people's thoughts.
Yeah, and I feel like, you, and maybe this is because there's so much negative connotation to that craft, right, from history, that you look at any other religion and or spiritualism or whatever that looks like for somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything that comes across as like unknown, right? Like, I think there's been a lot of stuff recently that's come out, especially with like the clergy and like the Catholic and France and all of that. But there's this like sense, I think, with paganism and Wiccan, that people just don't have knowledge about, right? Because I
Oh,
think
not at all.
especially in the US, and this is something that I want to touch on a little bit more, is there's been this idea of what witches look like, right? And the Salem witch trials, and that's taught throughout history and education. Um, and this
Do you know
idea.
what's mad? I'm sorry to like butt in,
No, you're
but
fine.
everybody talks about the Salem witch trials. Everybody.
Hmm.
But can I let me just say that in England, I think I read somewhere, I don't know where it was, but in England or in Europe, we actually had a witch trial that
Hmm.
was way bigger than the one in Salem.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that
And
I
it
was reading too. Um,
never talked about. It never ever talked about. It was the biggest one, and it was the one that ended all the Salem, all the witch trials.
yeah, and it's wild because as I was reading more into like the history, right? There's actually a lot of history that's missing in terms
Oh,
of
so much,
of of you know witches, and this idea
so
that
much.
you know that witches, and I think this becomes like that's part of that stereotype, which we'll talk a little bit more shortly, of like
Mm.
witches have to be old women with like warts on their face. They have to like hate everybody else and like only have cats, right? Like, and it paints this picture that this is
Mm.
what witches are, right? When witches
Yeah.
throughout history have actually been like differently identifying individuals. Like, it's like you said,
Oh yeah.
it's the craft.
Normal
It's not
men
like,
and women.
yeah. And like
Um,
witches aren't boiling children. They're not like throwing kids into
no.
into ovens, right? And
No, not at all. And to be honest with you, if a witch is a witch and she's smart enough, she would probably know what to do to keep herself alive and beautiful.
yeah.
Not like, dying and decrepit.
And I think too, like, one of the things that I was reading, which I thought was really interesting, was a lot of the individuals that were actually like put on trial, or like burned at the stake, actually weren't witches at all. Like they were just people that individuals in towns just like either just didn't want around or were just like not liked.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is crazy to think about, that we are taught these things, and it's not even, I mean, we see that throughout history, like people persecuted, right, just for either having these different identities or having these different beliefs, but for the fact that like these people were like killed just because they weren't liked, but then they claimed that they were witches when they weren't, like that's crazy to me.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. It is mad. It is absolutely stupid.
So what got you, into this practice as this goes off, but
What got me into it?
yeah, what got you into it, and then what kept you doing it?
Okay, so funny story. I'm going to take you right back to my childhood. Right
Okay,
back.
I'm ready.
So I've always known that there's something different about me, and I know everybody says that. Fair enough, but so when I was like at the age of like 6 and stuff, I used to have this power that I used to know what gender like their child would be when they were pregnant before they knew, and I was right every single time. I put my hands on their stomach and I would know. I would be like, oh, it's a boy or it's a girl, and I would be right every time. And my one of like my mum's friends, she like they already knew, and they were like trying to test me or something. And like I put my hand on the stomach. They I think it was like they was gonna have a girl or something or boy. Um, and I put my hand on their stomach, and I was like, "Oh no, you're having a girl." Like I was adamant they were having a girl. And they were like, "No, it's a boy. It's a boy." When she gave birth, it was a girl. And bang on, my whole life, even until now, till this day, I can be like, I was in my nail salon like 2 months back, and this girl came in. I was getting my nails done and stuff, and then like my nail lady was like, "Oh, this girl's pregnant. Like, can you do it with her?" And, like, put me on the spot. So I was like, "Oh, you're having a boy," and she goes, "What?" Like, "Yeah, I am." Like, that's so weird. And I've just always had like this thing, I've always known that there's something different. I didn't understand, obviously, at that age. I didn't know it was like I didn't know it was um a part of my craft, I guess, like at the time. And then as I grew up, as I got older, I kept like I had like this weird sixth sense. When like you in your head, like you have someone talking to you.
Yeah.
So I remember this is when I caught on, like I'd be like, "Oh, do I need an umbrella?" And then like someone in my head would go, "Yes, you do need an umbrella because it's gonna rain." And I wouldn't listen to it, and then it would rain, and I would need an umbrella. So talk about voices in my head. It's just the voices. So I just kept having this weird, I kept fighting with this voice, and this voice would always be right. And I later found out that that is the voice of spirit. So I have spirit. Spirit, it's a woman, and she is beautiful. She's got beautiful white blonde hair, and she's stunning. Absolutely stunning. She's always there. And I feel like I don't actually know. So I had that. That was sort of my like thing. I have ADHD, so I'm gonna like blah, 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 through my stories. So after like my childhood and stuff, and realizing I had more, like, okay, well, what's this? And I don't know what it was that like got me into witchcraft. I don't know what it was. Like actually starting to practice it in, do there's spirits in my house, and they're just messing up. Like I can hear them walking around. So we'll get to that.
Perfect timing.
It's honestly, it's when I talk about spirit, they do just start acting up. So just do that thing. God, where was I? This is it. This is my ADHD. Like to the full stop. What was I saying?
You were talking about the spirits talking to you. And you're talking about like
spirits.
you weren't really sure what got you into witchcraft.
Oh, honestly, I don't like actually practicing like Wicca and stuff, and I think it was the idea of like a Ouija board. So Ouija boards was like the first thing that I tried. I know, fucking stupid. I was like 14. I was like, fuck it, I'll do the Ouija board. Like, yeah, like I'm so ready for this. I'm not even kidding. Wait, I'm just gonna keep my phone here so I can still not. I just keep hearing like walking around. So yeah, so I 13, 14 is when I'm like, this is when I started like doing all the Ouija boards and stuff, which is not like fun. Like, trust me, I'm not. Don't do that shit. Like, if you're not protected, you don't know how to protect yourself. Like, don't do it because it fucked me up like so badly. I'll get into that. So I started doing a Ouija boards, with my friends, like as a normal 14-year-old, like playing Ouija boards.
That's normal for a 14-year-old to do. Just play with the Ouija boards.
I mean, it was for me.
Okay.
Which anyway, so I used to always connect with like these spirits and stuff, which weren't actually spirits. So they were pretending to be like young children and stuff, like enticing me in, and then turns out they were actually like very dark spirits that, and I let them in. I let them in, and that was really silly of me. I paid the price. I did. And then the next thing I did, I did like you know what a hex is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did one of those. My like boyfriend, like when I was like 15, because he broke my heart.
So what was the hex for?
He broke my heart. It was like one of those, like I was like basically 14 or 15. He broke out with me. I was hurt about it. And I remember doing it. I did it downstairs. I didn't think to do it outside. I actually burnt my carpet for like, and it stayed there for like years. There was like fire involved, a bowl, his name, I had a piece of writing. Yeah, it was some mad shit. I don't know what I was doing.
So
but it worked. It worked. It worked. I'm not gonna say name or anything.
you don't have to tell me a name, but like what was what was the intention of the hex? Like is it
the intention was that like nothing would be good for him. Like everything would go terribly.
for
And
how
it did. Like
for like the rest of his life, or like
yeah.
is he still hexed? Wait, is he still hexed?
I don't know, honestly. I've been trying to find a way because me and him are actually really good friends now. I've been trying to find a way to like reverse that. I can't.
Wait.
That's so bad, dude. I can't tell you because everybody's gonna judge me so heavily.
What the fuck? Okay. Right on. So
it's hurtful.
is that the last time you did a hex?
Yeah, never again. Oh my god, no, because like I saw the outcome, and the thing is, with the universe, if you're not protected, and at the time I didn't know nothing about protection, I just didn't care. Like the thing is, when you put something into the universe will spit it back at you like 10 times worse. And that's exactly what it did. Like exactly what it did. So when I put the text on this boy, like his life went to absolute shit. Like really personal things like happened that broke him, and because of that, like because of what he had to go through, I went through a lot as well. I went through like every single relationship I've been in leading up to like now has been absolutely terrible. Like it's been like the worst of the worst pretty much. And I feel like that is my like karma for putting whatever I did on him. Yeah. And I think also the universe is making me pay for it, because me and him are really, really good friends. Like, he was my best friend. He sort of disappeared now. Like, I don't know where he's gone, but he disappeared a year ago. Like, no, he's not dead, but like, he just doesn't talk to me anymore. Yeah, he was like my best friend. It was really weird.
Huh. And he's just like poof, gone. Like,
yeah, like I think it might have been his. I don't know. You know when like people get in relationships and stuff. Like I'm pretty sure that's because he's in a relationship with someone, and I'm pretty sure it might be something to do with that.
Is she also Wiccan or pagan?
I have no fucking clue.
Oh, okay. That'd be really ironic. But
oh. Anyway.
So stay away. So stay away. Don't make you mad.
Oh, wait.
Don't make you mad, or else you're gonna put hexes on people. That's what I'm hearing.
I would never do that ever again.
Okay, so like, you talk about hexes. Are there like, what is like the positive like version of a hex? Is there a positive version of a hex?
I mean, yeah. No, like, because the thing is, this is what I do now. It's called light work.
Okay.
So I make like little bottles, little vials of like herbs and different intentions and stuff. I seal it with wax.
Okay.
That could be like an anti-anxiety jar, or like something for protection.
Okay.
And like doing these, it's a spell. It pretty much is like you're crushing all these like herbs together. You know, you're sealing it up with your intention, and you basically just keep it on you, and it helps with different herbs, different candle wax, different like incense, or different sages can do different things. It's pretty mad, yeah. So I would say that's the opposite of a hex, because you're helping someone instead of not helping someone.
Right. So like with these like vials, these spells, is there like, does the person have to have those things in their possession for it to be effective, or is there like a distance? Because right, so obviously the person that you put their name in a bowl and caught it on fire, right? So
that's different though, because that intention is like, I can't explain it with these vials, because with that hex I burnt his name.
Right.
It was for me, like it was for me against him. But like, if I'm making a vial, I've done this with my friends, I made them vials and stuff, and I give it to them. It's like a passing of energy. So I give this to them, and they keep a hold of it, and they either keep it on them, or they put it in their room or something. It's weird, because it's like, it's more of like an intention. I put the intention into the bottle, and then when I give the bottle to them, they've now got that intention. Do you know what I mean? It's a passing of energy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this is like sparking all kinds of questions in my head, because I'm just like, you know, so is there a limit to like what's covered, I guess, in these, you know, these vials or these spells? Like, is there stuff that you couldn't assist with, like, of the passing of the energy? Like, does that make sense? Like, is there like a limit?
There's people can have blockages, like energy blockages. Have you heard of that? So if someone is not okay or ready to receive that, like, that intention or that like manifestation, you know, it won't happen, because they need to be like open-minded. They need to open up their energy to take in that energy. But if they're closed off, nothing can get through.
Okay.
So people have their own blockages. I have lots, I might add. And that I would say that's your limit. Like, if you could put your and your all of you into this, but if that person's got a blockage, like, it's not going to get through.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
It's
no, go for it.
don't remember. It's something about law of attraction.
Mm.
Law of attraction. So if let's say like you want you want to be happy, right? But
Yeah.
like if you're just going, I'm not going to be happy, all of this is going wrong, this is going wrong, like that's your blockages.
Mm.
It's because all you're thinking about is that it's bad, like it's never going to get better. But if you go, I'm going to be better, this is what I'm going to do to get better, like I'm going to set goals to get to that place, that's you clearing your blockage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I've
So
been
like if I gave someone like an anti-anxiety jar, if they're like if their blocks off, it's because they're going, oh, I can't get through this anxiety, like this is not going to help, or you know
Mm.
what I mean, like that's a blockage.
Yeah, I feel like I've had, and this is just me, and again, I haven't had the experience with these sorts of things. So like,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of what I attribute, or even like my therapist attributes, right, is like anxiety, deep-seated, like issues with experiences growing up, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're like a typical person has a lot of those blockages, right? Like,
Oh yeah, of course.
so what are ways, on that topic, like that you've seen that works, or like what are ways that you've used to like open back
Oh
up that
yeah.
energy?
Okay. So I suffer with like severe anxiety, severe, and so it's easy enough for me to go like, oh, just like it's a blockage and all.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I understand it's harder than that, like to get over it, or to get out of it even. But I think for me, like I don't know, because everybody is different, But for
Mm-hmm.
me, what worked was I set goals, like little goals,
Mm-hmm.
like for myself, and it could be like get up at 8 o'clock, make your bed, like you know what I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
getting me through that day, like making little goals. But on like a witch standpoint, um, burn chamomile oils. If you burn like it's like you can get like an oil candle burner, but
Mm-hmm.
burn chamomile because it can help calm like stress and nerves.
Okay.
And also chamomile tea like detoxes your bodies of like
Mm.
bad toxins. So anything chamomile, or anything lavender like can help with like relieving like anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think. Set an intention. Oh, I'll tell you what is good. It's affirmations.
Okay.
Write a set of affirmations like I am loved. I am, I am this, I am that. Like point out all the things that you want to be. Write it down, put I am, and then look at yourself in the mirror and just say that to yourself
Mm.
every single day until you start feeling like those things are actually working. I would say so. Oh, and again from a witch's standpoint, get some crystals. Crystals, what we're thinking of. Rose quartz. Rose quartz helps with self-love.
So with crystals, right? Like that was one of the things I talked about with the whole like TikTok thing, right? So
Yeah, cool.
what is it like about crystals? Is it like the frequency that like they give off? Like what is, I
It's a
guess,
vibration.
okay.
So different crystals give off different like frequency vibrations. And each different crystals, like I think you know about chakras in your body.
Yes, very yes,
Like the
kind of.
different like the rainbow colored like the soul chakra, mind,
Yes. Yeah.
bodies, yeah, sort of thing. So like crystals can also like affect, so your chakras are like your frequencies inside your body or something, and your body like is run by like energy, and basically different crystals give off different vibrations that can
Okay.
affect your energy in a better way. Does that make sense? I'm trying to
Yeah.
like word it in a way that this is what I was taught, this is how I learned
Right.
about crystals. And like I said, I don't know shit all. Like I know nothing and nobody knows nothing. Like we are like I already know, I think the thing is I think with people expect so much like out of like these questions.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, everybody's craft is different, so everybody's beliefs are different.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is with being spiritual and being pagan, you're like they're such an open like group. It's not a set belief.
Mm.
You have your goddesses, your deities and stuff, and you can choose to like worship them or not worship them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I do think like people do expect so much, like, but it's like I can't explain it to like everybody's standard because everybody's standard is different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll explain it the best I can, but that's exactly it.
So I guess with like, the crystals and like even like tarot card readings and these different spices and herbs that help the body, right, the body and the mind. Why do you think there is such a like resistance to like believing that these things actually work, right? Because these aren't new, like this craft isn't new, like this has been around for,
Oh, it's very old.
right? So like why do you think there's such a hesitation for people to try and understand or feel like these things work?
It's gonna get so controversial, but I do believe it's because of Christianity. Like I'm gonna put it out there. I have Christian friends. One of my best friends is Christian, but she's very into like the whole witch stuff, and she really wants to know more. So I
Okay.
don't even think it's that. It's more the fact. I genuinely believe that it's because like the thing is, if you take it back like so many years, like paganism came way before Christianity did, and like Christian like beliefs and Christian holidays are actually based on like pagan beliefs, right? So have you read that? Have you heard of that?
I have not. This is the first that I'm hearing of this, and I love it.
So like Christianity took pagan beliefs and pagan holidays.
Okay.
So for example, like Christmas and like what's it called? Halloween, Easter, like it's all they're all pagan beliefs. Christianity basically took that.
So I guess
Mad, dude.
so my question, and I'm laughing because I'm like, the claim of, right, like Christmas, right, is that's when Jesus was born. So like that's that celebration of that. So how does that, like, where is that from the pagan belief, right? So yeah, I'm just curious.
So Christmas for us is actually called like Yule.
Okay.
And I've actually forgot the proper name for it. Like, my book is literally in like my living room. But I just know I can't. There are actual words for it.
Okay.
But I can't remember what it's called. With I can.
I'm just like so interested because, right, like Christmas looks different in many cultures, right? Like, and
100%, yeah.
it's ironic to me that even in the US, like most companies, you get Christmas off, right? And there's supposed to be this whole like divide of church and state, but yet you're recognizing this Christian holiday So
Yeah, yeah.
that's why I'm curious of like where in like the pagan um history like that stems from, if it's been
I
like
think,
the focal point of, Jesus being
yeah.
born.
So paganism came from like Celtic, so it's a Celtic like thing. Neo-pagan, that's what they're called.
Okay.
So I'm reading Yule. So Yule is reading here the first of the 8 sections of the wheel of the year is Yule. So it's the winter solstice.
Okay.
Um, so it's meant to be like a festival. So for many pagans, Yule is a key part of life of the life cycle of the child of promise. So conceived in a Astera, I think, Tara, born in the winter solstice as the sun child. So this is like a goddess. This is what I mean. Like there is so much to learn. Like I know
Yeah.
like little bits, but there is so much to learn.
So
See, Celtic people have celebrated the winter solstice in the British Isles since before the arrival of Christianity.
so I guess because this again, like we talked about this before we even started recording, that this topic can be very controversial, right? So the
Oh, very.
idea that like Christianity, right, the religion of, I don't know why I quoted religion of them all, there we go, there are the quotes, um really, it seems like got a lot from the pagan culture, but like this idea that we go back to the witch trials, right? When
Mm-hmm.
people, and this is me assuming, just based on where history has been, assuming that
Yeah.
most of these trials happened, right, because these individuals were Christian, and we're thinking that these people,
Roman Catholic.
that's part of Christianity. So, but same thing. Um,
No.
so like, where, like, I guess my question is like, where is this? Where are we taught this, right? Like, what happened to that divide of like, if they're seeking like and following what paganism is, um,
Mm-hmm.
like why is there such a, I guess, divide with that? Does that make sense? I just, this
Yeah.
is blowing my mind.
The divide, what, between being pagan and Christianity?
Yeah, like where did that
Like,
happen?
so I actually read this in a book and I do remember it. It's because, so back in the day, um, people obviously used to use herbs and stuff to heal your body.
Yeah.
Just medicinal, right? And I think I read somewhere that someone like this person was like the person that it's like a pharmacist, I guess. We'll take it back. So a pharmacist would make these herbs for someone and would heal them. And this one person wasn't healed and this person died, right?
Yeah.
And because this person died, it created like a domino effect. So the family of that person that died was like, it's a witch. Like this person didn't like our family. Like he gave us herbs and stuff, and it didn't work. And it just sort of like had like a weird like domino effect on like everything.
Huh.
And then them being Christians, it was like yep, they steal our children. They fucking dance naked in the moonlight and like eat our children, stay like alive for years and years. Like what? What do you mean? And that's the divide. It's the fact that we were betrayed because a Christian family died because of natural causes and then blamed us for it. That's the divide. We got fucking betrayed because oh, we're giving you our better, but now like you're saying we're witches because we work with medicine that make you better. what?
So I wonder if that's like where the term like witch doctor came to be, right? Like this idea,
Yeah.
and like I guess even now, and this is just made me think of this, but like,
Hmm.
do you and this isn't something that I've heard, but I wonder if this is something that you've heard, like people that
Shoot.
practice like holistic medicine, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
not using stuff that's engineered in a lab somewhere. Like, have you heard
Yeah.
those people being called like witches or, you know, Wiccan?
Yeah. Well, I guess. I don't know, really. But I feel like some people forget that this is the thing, because like now we live in a society that like money is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So people will be like, oh, they go to the pharmacy and they'll be like, oh, this one's more expensive, so this one obviously like must work better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that is like that's also like that's like a baby root
Mm.
from like the main root. So the main root was um witches being killed because of medicinal like purposes, or apparently practicing witchcraft because it
Yeah.
can help with stuff. And then now it's like because it's all about money, and then all the companies and stuff. And if someone like came around with like a, oh, you know what, this can actually help you, this flower that if you smell or drink it, like it can help you, they'll be like, no, because like it's not through like a pharmacy. It's not like you've just sort of just given that to me. And I reckon it's like that's like a weird like ancestry thing
Okay.
for
Yeah.
them to not trust it. And that's what I think, like this is like it's created a whole domino effect like throughout the whole of the history.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because in this perspective, right, like this idea that with Wiccan, right, like it's you're using natural substances, right, to heal
Yeah.
yourself. Like you have this
Hmm.
perspective of like for lack of a better phrase, like positive psychology,
Yeah.
that really is a focal point on that energy. And so that holistic medicine approach to
Hmm.
me feels like it would fall under that realm, right? um
Yeah.
which is really funny to me because I know people who, you know, are, and I'm also not gonna name names, but who are of like the Christian religion who also believe in these natural remedies, don't believe in, especially now, the vaccine, um,
Yeah, that's mad, right?
and like I know for sure that they would, you know, describe witchcraft as worshiping Satan, right? So it's just so funny to me to see that, like, in history, the tales and the stories that have been told to have these negative connotations.
Oh,
Um,
mad, dude. It's
when
just all like crazy.
and we just had like there's like my thing is like where is the evidence to back that up, right? Like
Mhm.
because from what I've seen and what I've heard and the things that you've talked about, like these all seem like positives, right? Like why wouldn't somebody want to be more in touch with the energy that they have, or find things that are going to be more what's the word I want to use, like natural for your use, right?
Because like the thing is like I can see it from a Christian. If someone's a strong Christian believer, they have been taught that witches are associated with Satan,
Yeah,
the devil. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, if you yourself at that, you. Do you know what I mean? And that's
yeah,
like to them, that's like the worst thing in the world.
yeah,
And that's what I think it is, and for normal people, like not normal, for like people that are not Christian, or for example, my partner, like he's not Christian, he doesn't really have beliefs.
yeah,
He would sort of be like, well, it's just doesn't make sense. Like I think it's like the idea of like it not making sense, and not like being like, like my tarot cards, it freaks him out because it's like why is that like so true? Like, why
Yeah.
does that resonate with me so much? And I think people like, oh, I don't like that. Wait, I'm just gonna, again, a blockage. Like, I'm not gonna like understand that, and I don't want to talk about that. And it's just that sort of like, these herbs can help you, but it's sort of like, but I'm not gonna take it because I don't know why it helps me.
Yeah, and it's funny because I laugh at this and my friends laugh at this, but I've been called the Antichrist a couple of times in the last couple of years, and
fucking hell.
it's funny. I laugh at it because like I used to be and I don't know, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I used to be on the path to become a pastor. Like I used to be very religious, and I spent many years in the church. And so I've seen, that transformation to, especially to where I'm at now, where I think I told you before we even started recording that I've on my For You page on TikTok, like I've been getting so many tarot card readings, and I'm just like, literally, this is everything that I'm going through right now. So it's just, I don't, at this point, like, I don't think it's a coincidence. Like I myself am interested in exploring more of that. Right. And, I have other friends that believe in the powers of crystals and, the things that you burn, like especially sage, right? A very cleansing herb, supposedly, and they even say, you see in all these horror movies, like, oh yeah, burn sage, it'll get rid of the spirits, right? And or provide that protection, right?
Yeah, and protection. I wouldn't say it's that easy to get rid of the spirit.
Yeah, I mean, you're the expert here, so but yeah, I think there's just so many things that are unknown to people, and I think people are afraid of the unknown a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they've been told one thing for so long, right? Like,
oh yeah.
And there are a lot of things in history that I'm not going to get into that's happened, but
Jesus.
yeah, I think that's what we've known. And especially when we're young, like we're impressionable, we're told all of these things, and we take it for face value, right? And I think there's.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
So you said that you spent a lot of time in the church.
Yep.
But do you know the story of Lilith?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you do, because there's people that don't know that story.
Yeah.
And it really frustrates me.
I mean, the funny thing about the church, and I don't know how we got on topics of just shitting on Christianity, but it's the amount of time that I spent in the church and the amount of times that they repeat the same stories over and over for a book that's close to 700 pages or whatever, like amazes me. Like there are a lot of stories in there that they never touch. There are a lot of things that they never touch, and it's almost like it's intentional of like, oh, you do these things, like you're going to hell, or like you do these things, but there's like a lot of stuff at least in the Bible, right, that may state otherwise. There's a lot of, if you haven't read the Bible from front to back, like there's a lot of sin that's portrayed in the Bible. And people are like, oh yeah, love the person, hate the sin, or whatever that phrase is. Love the sinner, hate the sin, which is like what they say to people when they don't approve of the things that you're doing in your life.
Oh Jesus.
It's great. So it's interesting to like see how much is actually controlled in the knowledge that we have, especially in this area, right? And
yeah,
I think you and I could probably talk for hours on what's known and what's not known. But one of the things that I do want to know, as I come to the last couple questions that I have, because I also want to be mindful of your time, right? We talked about in the middle of this podcast, right? Like you're even like, oh yeah, like I hear spirits walking, and
Mhm.
next door in the room
All the
over.
time. It's just part and parcel. Like,
So like what is your earliest memory of either seeing a spirit, speaking to a spirit, and then like how would you describe that experience for somebody that's never had
okay.
that?
So, spirit. So like I said, I've been speaking to spirit. So my own spirit for like for as long as I can remember, but
Mm-hmm.
not realizing that she was actually spirit. You know. And I think it was after I started with the Ouija boards and stuff. I let something very dark into my family home,
Mm.
and I started having very bad night terrors, and I would start seeing really dark shadows everywhere. My mental health took the biggest dip.
Mm.
And the thing is, with bad spirits, they feed on bad energy. They feed
Mm.
on your like, so they make you more depressed. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They make you they make you think the worst about every situation.
I feel
To be
that.
like, you know, they feed on you. They feed on you. And my one of my best friends, mum, she's a witch. She was the one that introduced me to paganism and stuff. She was the one that gave me the crystals.
Mm.
Um, she gave me my first bundle of sage. She gave me the word. She taught me how to get rid of these bad spirits and stuff, bad omens. And from then on, from her like introduced crystals and stuff, that's when I was like, oh, now I actually really want to like learn about this.
Mm.
That's when I started doing research and reading up about stuff, and you know, and I stopped for a while. The reason I stopped was because again, I was so worried about what people thought about
Mm.
me, you know,
Yeah.
and I never had friends that were supportive of my craft.
Mm.
You know, they'd be like, oh, that's weird, or you're a freak, or you know what I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
like, do you actually believe in that sort of stuff? And I almost made myself believe that as well, you know, that
Mm.
it was nothing, and this is not my gift, like, you know, I'm not, you know, this or that. And it's actually, I'll be honest with you, it's been within the last 2 to 3 years where I've like actually taken my craft seriously,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a huge spiritual awakening, like mental. I'm talking like I was seeing numbers 1111, 2222 for me, 333. I kept seeing all these numbers everywhere, and I kept hearing like my spirit she kept like she was getting louder almost.
Mm.
And um I started noticing things in the corner of my eye. I started, like it was absolutely crazy the last 2 years, and I've now got a really good group of friends, a good web of friends, and they're very spiritual, and they do like understand my craft, and they help me like, you know what I mean, they sort
Yeah.
of like encourage me to do more. um but the thing is, when you open yourself up to that side, so for example, being clairvoyant, which is what I am, I do speak to spirits and dead people. Um, that's when you start opening yourself up to like the other world, when you
Mm.
start opening yourself to the spirit realm. And tarot is a way of opening yourself, because you're talking with spirit. Spirit holds your hand.
Mm.
You know, relatives can come and go. I don't feel like I even had a choice in the matter. It just happened. It's just one day my spiritual awakening happened, and then that was it. I was, you
Mm.
know, I would walk into a shop and I would be overwhelmed with emotion because of a spirit's family member that was trying to get through to them. Or, you know, I literally the other day, my friend was like, "Oh, you know, I would love to do tarot readings with you." I was like, "Yeah, sure." She's like, "I'd love to speak to my granddad." As soon as she said granddad, I was like, I saw this man in my head. He popped up, and I described to her exactly what he looked like, how he acted, what he dressed like, and she was like, "That is weird." You know, another thing that's weird. I was on phone, like a video call with a friend, and I was like, "Oh, your dad wants you to like look through like this photo album or something." I described the photo album to the T, and I was able to tell her where it was because he told me where it was, and she found it. So I'm not speaking. This is not on me. This is spirit. Spirit, like the spirit. Spirit is the one talking to me. I'm just a messenger.
Hmm.
I don't know nothing. Like, I could come out. I can come out with some random shit and be like, "Where did that come from?" Because it's not me. It's spirit talking. Really weird. So that's me touching on the subject of speaking to spirits. Is like I also have to. You have to have an ego death, because the thing is, when you go, you need to kill off your ego. So you need to stop talking to your ego and realize who spirit is and who your ego is. And I think I took shrooms, right? That
Nice.
was cool. That opened me up to a whole, like, well, I feel like I've actually grounded myself a lot more doing shrooms. Like, I understand. Like, I can't explain that to you, but I remember being in my trip and be like, I understand everything now. I get it. I get it. I get why the universe is the universe. Like, I understand, but I couldn't explain it to you right now because I need to be in like trip.
Well, and that's funny because like you're not the only person that I've heard that said that, right? Like, like we watched a documentary on like mushrooms and fungi like a couple months ago, and they talk about like that's a huge part of what they talk about because it is growing, right? It grows from the earth and it has this like psychedelic piece to it that allows you to connect and see different things connected to like the energy and the earth, and it's just it's something that you just can't even comprehend, like you said, like, and that groundedness that comes with it. Like a lot of people share that feeling and that sentiment after doing shrooms. Like
I could hands down tell someone, like, I'm not saying take shrooms and like I'm saying like take like a gram or two, like center yourself, get you and a friend.
yeah,
Because I do it with my best friend Laura. Oh my god, I love her. She is like, she grounds me. Like, she is the person, and she holds me down to the ground when I'm like, off on one. So she's my shroom buddy. And what I would suggest you do is like, sit inside, put some music on, get some like cozy blankets, chuck some fairy lights around you. Do you know what I mean? Take a gram or two and just let it happen. It's the most beautiful experience you'll ever have. And the second time I did it, I went outside and I shit you not, I felt the ground breathe and I felt connected with Mother Nature. Like, I felt connected with her. And I was holding the ground, and the ground was like breathing, and I was like, I understand why I'm here. Like, you know what I mean? And it's kind of opened me up to, with being pagan, it's opened me up more to that,
yeah,
because being pagan is like, being spiritual is about like connecting with that around you, with the energies, with the with what you have underneath your feet,
yeah.
Well, I can't. It's just so much, so much. I feel like I need to be on shrooms to like have this conversation with
I mean, I feel that way sometimes. I've never done shrooms. I have friends that have.
Dude, take a gram. Take a gram. Get in your puffy pajamas, right?
All right, I'll get in my nice onesie, my nice fluffy bunny onesie.
Perfect. Like, honestly, it's just the way to go. It's perfect.
Noted. I'll
Being spirits is a different like ball game. So I used to always see shadow. I see shadow people.
yeah.
Like since doing that Ouija board, I saw shadows. Never saw an actual ghost or a spirit ever in my entire life. I was like, whoa, okay. So I moved up here, which is like 5 hours from my hometown, to live with my boyfriend. Not in this place, in his old place. And there was this like door, right? We had like a windy staircase behind this door.
Okay.
And the door was like open a crack. You could sort of see like into there was a wall and then the windy staircase. So I shit you not, I was walking, right? This happened 2 years ago. I was walking, never seen a spirit ever in my entire life. I walked past to go to the toilet. I shit you not, in between this crack and this door, against the wall, there was a boy, like I'm not even kidding, like I'd say 7-year old, like 8-year-old boy in like Victorian, like a Victorian like waistcoat jacket and like one of those Peaky Blinder hats. Like a Victorian, like I shit you not, I saw him clear as day. He sat there with his leg, like one leg underneath his, the other hanging down, like a saddle thing. And he looked like a Victorian, like aged sort of eight-year-old boy, like that worked in like a factory or something.
Oh.
And I walked past, and I saw him clear as day. I could draw him for you. He was beautiful. I walked past him, and I was like, did I just fucking see? I shut the door. I was like, I'm not. I walked back, I opened the door, and he was gone. But that was the first time I've ever seen a spirit ever, and it was a young boy, and yeah. So it turns out on that road there was like some sort of factory that used to be built there. So he was obviously one of the boys that worked in that factory.
Wow.
But it was the first time he never, he just sort of, he didn't say anything to me or do anything. He just sat there with his like didn't smile, didn't do nothing, just sat there. And I was like, I was like, did I just fucking see a spirit? Do you know what I mean? And every day past that day, it was like would be like start staring into corners and stuff, and it was just mad. Like, and that was the last time I saw a spirit, like an actual ghost of an apparition.
Yeah.
Should I say? And then obviously we moved in here. I started getting more into my craft, getting more into like tarot readings and stuff, and opening myself up to that world. When I first did that, I still didn't know how to protect myself properly. I didn't let like bad spirits in, but I let a few bad spirits in. So shadow people are like a common thing in this home of mine.
Okay.
And I think I remember like lying on my bed. This freaked me the fuck out. I was lying on my bed, and like my bed's like, let's say this is my bed. My door is over there, and my door was left open all the time because my cat like comes in and out of the bedroom. So it was pitch dark. I'm lying there, and I look down, and like just like by my door, there's fucking tall, like I'm talking like 6-7 foot, like dark entity just pokes his head round and then back out again, and there's this. I was like, I freaked the fuck out. Like I was like, no, 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 no. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, I kept seeing like dark shadows, like whiz past my head and shit. And I actually took a break from all my craft because I was like, I can't do this. It got too much. When you see a 7-foot fucking shadow being poking, like you don't want to be fucking with that.
Yeah. I'm gonna pass on that. That is.
And when we first moved into the first week we moved in, my partner kept getting like very bad migraines. The moment he would walk in, like he would get very bad migraines.
Yeah.
I knew there was a spirit of a man that lived here. And I had to ask him to leave because he was obviously making my partner very uncomfortable. And there's a plaque outside our front door, and this used to be a theatre. It was built in the 1600s, so it's very old. This building is very, very old. And yeah, so I had to ask him to leave because he was making it was very bad, like causing harm to him, because I think it was just the whole thing, like he didn't. So I asked him to leave. I never actually saw him, but I heard him, like he would speak to me through my brain, through spirit. Spirit would talk to me. What else? Seeing spirit. Oh shit! I was fucking sat on the sofa one day, like, and the spirit zooms across into my kitchen, does this, and then puts off again. I was like, what the fuck? And then I heard a. Can you hear that? Like it was like a.
Yeah.
I was like, I looked over, and it came from the kitchen, and I knew something was off. I was like, what was that? And then I was like, I was like, well, can you fucking leave? And they went, I was like, oh no.
This is it.
The amount of times I've woken up with scratches, I'm going to show you a picture. I'm going to freak you out a little bit. So I wake up, sometimes I wake up with scratches and stuff.
What the fuck?
Shit. Oh dude, it's mad. I woke up with this. I'm trying to find the picture. And like, you know, above me, we are the top floor flat, so there's nobody above.
Yeah.
Creepy, I know, I get it. And I hear people running around upstairs. There's not an upstairs to run around in. Like, go away.
What the heck?
Like just then, you know, like we were in the middle of the chat, people walking around, running around. I would come home and my like flower vase was like vase or whatever was tipped over. Every single day I come home and it was tipped over. So the one day I had off, I stayed at home and it wasn't tipped over.
Yikes.
Yeah, so you know, that's not fun. Like when they start fucking messing with you. But
yeah.
I think at this, you know, you have to be sort of like stern with them. If you're not stern with them, they do take the piss a little bit. You have to be like, leave, this is my home, you know? Put down some ground rules because they start getting what's the word, rebellious.
That's wild to me. I don't if I had that experience, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably shit myself, to be honest.
Yeah, it's I feel like I've because it's a part of my craft. Like I, you know, like just then, like shit, I'm just sorry. Like it's just, you know, and some people are like, how are you so calm about it? I'm just like, I'm not too like fussed about it.
So
it just happens every day.
Yeah.
Shoot me more questions whilst I try and find these pictures for you.
I have plenty of questions that I could ask, but I want to be mindful of our time here. But the last question that I actually have for you is like, for people that might be interested in, you know, this idea of witchcraft or Wiccan, or in the process of, you know, maybe exploring, you know, paganism, like what kind of like advice, or like what would you provide them? Like what type of knowledge would you provide them to like, would you
into witchcraft?
Yeah, would you encourage it? Like what would you give people? Like what type of knowledge would you give them?
Hard question, because I don't know anything. I think anybody can get into witchcraft. Anybody, you know, I think if you want to do it, you can do it. But what I would say, like advice wise, is protection. Like like get on that shit. Like, I'm talking like crystals, crystal grids, sage. Like learn how to protect your energy and your home and others around you before you start anything. Because the thing is, the moment you open yourself up, there's always like an upside down. I use that term because obviously you've seen Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I use that term like upside down because there's always like another like double of this, but with worse things in it. And when you open up your world, you also open up a spiritual realm. And they will always try and find things to do to attack you. And this is the thing. I wish I knew, you know what I mean, before I started my craft.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say I think you should do it because I think it's like I said, you can be pagan and not practice Wicca. Do that, you know. If you're curious, I'd say do the research, find out like the history behind everything. You know, make sure it is for you. You know, that you want to have this belief. I'd say connect with nature. Like really, I say that, but I'm saying like walk around the park without your fucking shoes on. Like go connect with nature. Go get some crystals. Like burn some candles and just meditate with yourself. Even like do some manifestations. like that won't ever hurt anybody. But manifest some things for yourself, you know,
Yeah.
open up those blockages. Like I think being a witch is really not as bad as people think. I've healed so much as a person because of paganism and my belief. I've been through some shit. I've been through so much, and witchcraft and having this belief that like we are connected to nature and then things happen when they're meant to happen, you know, because they should happen, has got me through a lot of stuff. And I do think if you want to practice, and you know, but also like don't listen to people, like don't listen to what others have to say about your craft, because paganism is just your craft. It's nobody else's. Like it's what you want to believe in. That's it. Like that's what I could say.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, you know, a lot of it too, in general, and I made this comment earlier, right, is like a big focal point of what it sounds like is that positive psychology piece of like, you know, you're speaking things into existence, right? Like you're focusing on, you know, what's in your control and not necessarily what other people are doing. And I almost wonder if that positive psychology piece also stems from, you know, the pagan belief. And I think, as you said, like there are a lot of things that stem from that, and I think that's super interesting to me. And I'm definitely going to do some more reading and research on that, because
I would like if you know, it's just, I'm not saying it's just because it's my belief, but I think it's beautiful. I think that there are no limits to being a pagan. You know, I think we're very, very open to like being yourself and attracting things that are like good for you. You know, like learning about the different deities. Like recently, I've been very, very to Lilith and Lucifer, and Lucifer being the bringer of light and knowledge, Lucifer Morningstar, and and his story, you know, about why he was outcasted and stuff. And Lilith being she's the feminine divine. She is absolutely all women being empowered by femininity, and you know, and I love that about her. She's a very strong standpoint for women, and standing up for yourself. And I feel like people need that, you know, like I feel women need that, like men need, you know, and I think with some religions and beliefs, they're so stuck in their own ways. It's like they're not open to like learning about things, you know, and being like, oh, you know, why can't we just accept people being people, you know? Because the thing is, we are the universe experiencing itself. Like we're just vessels, like holding different spirit, like different souls. I won't even get into that. That's a whole fucking ball game. Like that's like what happens when you die and shit. Like everybody has their own belief. Mine is that we are empty vessels, and when we die, our soul is energy, and energy cannot be destroyed. So it must go somewhere. And you know, it can explain like past life, like regression, and why people have past life moments and
deja vu,
like indigo children. I won't get started. Well, there's so much, you know, we've only just like cracked top of the iceberg here. Like, there's so much to talk about, like, you know.
We'll talk about the universe another time. We'll save a whole season for talking about the universe.
Yes.
But no, this has been very, very enlightening. And
I have to show you my scratch pictures.
Oh yeah, do you have them now? Did you find them?
I woke up with these,
Oh my God.
and then you see this crow's foot on my shoulder.
Wow.
I woke up with a crow's foot on my.
For those of you that are listening on Spotify, she is showing, like, she literally has like what looks like crow's feet like on her shoulder and back, from like if a crow were to like land on you and like push down. So it is a sight to see. So if you want to see that, you can also check this out on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, and you want to take me to go, you can listen to this on Spotify as well. So some shameless plugs there.
You don't want to miss that.
But I do want to close out, and I want to thank you so much again for spending this time with me.
No, of course.
And I hope that people that listen to this podcast episode really like find some new light and some new information about this craft and really the history and how it's all come to be, because I think that there are things that we do in our lives that fall under this craft and people don't even realize that. So I know this is definitely something that I'm going to continue to do some more research, and I would love to do a tarot card reading with you at some point.
Oh my God, of course.
So we can talk about what that looks like, because I'm extremely curious. And so again, thank you for spending this time with me. And we'll do a whole season on the universe.
Oh God,
just a whole
we do need
a whole spin-off season just on the universe. We'll start
Yes.
We'll start from the beginning and work our way up now. Oh God, that's gonna be like 5 seasons worth of content.
Yeah, we'll need our like spin-off episodes, but like we'll just name it like the questions of the universe.
All right, that's the new podcast. That's a new podcast. The questions of the universe. But for those of you that tuned in, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Again, you can catch For the Love of Humankind on YouTube and Spotify. Super excited for the rest of this season. We have some great topics,
Yes.
and this is just the surface. So stay tuned for the next episode. And again, thank you so much for listening, and thanks for being here.